Welcome to Advocation X, and this will be episode number 39. Time for a Drumpf newsworthy broadcast. Now, before I begin, please hit the like button, subscribe, become a member, hit that bell so you don't miss any further content coming up. Of course, my disclaimer. This channel, of course, is our opinion, but it is based on facts. We'll answer your questions if you're a subscribed member, but we always welcome your suggestions and critical analysis. So what I'd like to tackle here and now is the Trump, you know what I mean, that guy who always tells the truth. I'd like to point out the fact that he is probably the greatest president ever to occupy the office in his capacity. There are a few reasons that I'm going to tout here on his behalf. I'd also like to cover the world response to the greatest president ever to occupy the office in his capacity. So first, let me give a shout out to all you frontline workers, the nurses, doctors, orderlies, transport vehicles, paramedics, firefighters, police officers, frontline food industry servers, everybody who has been taking part in keeping the world alive and moving forward. We all owe you a major debt of gratitude, and one day we may be able to repay that debt. So let me break into this right now. Why is he the greatest president? What is it that makes me come to these conclusions? Well, he uncovered and found the greatest cure ever for a massive pandemic. And he did that without any medical background whatsoever. Obviously. And absolutely no scientific background whatsoever. Obviously. He did it without adhering to any of the advice of all the greatest minds that have ever lived who have been offering him advice as to how to go. Oh, I apologize for being back in the old studio, but I just wanted to give it another shot. So, let's move from there. PPEs, personal protection equipment for our frontline workers. Donald J. Trump has secured supplies from all over the world. How has he done this, you ask? He's hijacked shipments that were going to other countries, which could have helped them fight the pandemic. But he hijacked those shipments and brought them right back to American soil, making the USA number one. The Bahamas, their shipment finally arrives to help protect their frontline workers while fighting this pandemic. But the order comes from Donald J. Trump that order cannot be offloaded. It cannot be offloaded because it must return to U.S. soil because he needs those shipments for himself. What a great leader. He has taken decisive steps to make everything America first. So let me further that. He is pushing all the experts to give him favorable accounts of when he can set the American country back in motion in full swing. He is pushing. He's not letting up, guys. He wants you all to be able to go back to work. He wants you all to be able to earn a living again. He wants you all to be part of this great recovery that he himself can enact. No one else could accomplish these feats as the Donald. So, does that make him the greatest? I would say yes. I'm sorry, but some of you right now are shaking your head going, what is with you? What is with you, senior? How can you be talking like this about the Drumpf? And I say, it's obvious. What else has he done? He has withheld valuable aid from democratic states and given them to his base and his people. There are many states that have no shortage of supplies and have received supplies from the federal government and are doing as great as they can be. And then there are democratic states who are still struggling and fighting and scratching and scraping and begging the federal government for supplies. He has them right where he wants them. He has been able to manipulate the situation to such a degree that even Democrats are bowing to the power of the Donald. If that doesn't make him the greatest president to occupy the office in his capacity, then I don't know what is. So let me break that down for you. Some people would say, come on, senior, that is totally short-sighted and selfish. And I'll say, I agree with you. I totally agree. But it doesn't negate what he's done. Let's see, what has he done? He's putting all the people around his Republican states in major danger. So the spread of COVID, the Superbad Cold Illness, will become rampant in those states. And since he has built a wall between all the states now, it will never cross over to the Republican states. He has won again. So he's going to kill a whole bunch of Dems while preserving all the reps, Republics and Republicans in their own little cocoon space, their safe space. That's a great accomplishment. So while all these Dems are suffering and dying under the stress and lack of equipment and materials, all the rest will thrive. And that means all of his voters will be there for him in 2020. Genius plan. Genius plan. Okay, maybe there's some things that he overlooked. Like maybe a lot of the people in those Republican states have family and friends in the Democratic states who may also be getting sick and dying because of the short-sighted policy executions. But come on, spilt milk. Didn't they ever tell you don't cry over spilt milk? Listen, if you lose a few of your relatives and friends in the neighboring states, oh, who cares? Come on, you're winning. You are winning. Number one in short-sightedness and selfishness. But you're winning. That's what happens when I get excited. So, let's move from there. He has found the miracle cure. Hydroxychloroquine is absolutely, it's always been the miracle cure. None of us believed it. Only the Donald knew. He knew it in his core that that was a miracle cure for this super bad cold illness. So what has he done? He has secured amazing supplies of it. He's stockpiling it. What's wrong with that? Does that seem selfish and short-sighted to you because other people can't get some of these supplies? Well, I would say no, it's not. You know why? Because not very many other people want those supplies unless they have malaria. There's a couple of other illnesses that are actually treatable by this hydroxychloroquine, but the Superbad Cold Illness that everybody is fearing right now, there's no evidence that this is even going to do a thing. So, stockpile it. Gather up vaults full of it, but just don't hold it back from the people who have illnesses that actually can be treated by it. Oh, and don't forget, there's a massive risk of heart attack while using it. There's a risk of exacerbating the illness itself. There are other risks that come with it, and there's no proven track record that it's going to be a cure of any kind. There was a very small study done that showed the people in that study, who was not a control group, so you didn't have any other group to measure it against, like those who were taking a placebo or those who were taking another type of drug or those taking nothing at all. It was just a few people that it was tried on, and as we know, so many people contracting this do get better on their own. There was another study, an actual study done in France, and it proved to be an absolute failure. So it's questionable at best, maybe a little short-sighted. Who cares about the selfishness? He can stockpile it. I mean, look, India is becoming rich over exporting all this stuff to him and the people that he is convinced that this is the miracle. So, all of you who are convinced, let's pray you're right. And if you're not, you know what? There's time. There's lots of time, isn't there? There's no reason to panic. Like I said, it's inevitable. You're facing it. Deal with it. No, I don't agree with that. I think you have to make right now real leadership decisions. Ones that take into account all of your people. Ones that take into account all the countries of the world. Because if you allow it to exacerbate itself in another country, and then you open up for business, it's going to come back. And remember, with the 14-day incubation period, you won't even know what hits you until people start falling in the streets once again. Great person. And the reason why I did say that, and I believe it, he is the greatest president to occupy that office in his capacity. His capacity is this much on the scale. He doesn't have much capacity. So in his capacity, if you find any other presidents who actually fit into that space of capacity, when we know that 100% capacity is way here, then he would be the greatest. So my statement is not wrong, is it? Might be a little misleading, but not really when you consider all those things. India basically told him to go to HE double toothpicks. They withdrew their ban on exporting drugs by their own accord. They had 30 plus countries who were asking them to please get them the medicines that they needed. And they opened it up for all. And then the Drumpf made a big error. He went on national TV, international basically, because it's seen everywhere, and said he would threaten them with retaliation if they didn't allow his shipment through. Lucky for him that it was already allowed through, so he could stockpile something that is very questionably a placebo. So, anyways, let me move from that. On the larger scale, as a president, he probably ranks last. There may have been one president way back in our past who may outdo his incompetence and failures. There is none that comes close to the amount of lies he has told his own people and the people around the world. None, not one. He's number one in that for sure. India went as far as to say, this is going to be the demise of America. Why would India allow such a statement to be released to the world? Think about that for a minute. India is a very powerful country, regardless of whether you recognize them or not. Intellectually, they have been innovators and movers and shakers like you wouldn't believe. They have a massive population and potential of a great economic powerhouse for the future. They have allies outside of the United States of America who can bolster that position that they may decide to take on in the future. Their trade and relationship with China is also quite well established. Be careful what you wish for. This may have been his biggest push towards the separation of the alliances that prove to make the U.S. so powerful. On a good note, on a really good note, I foresee in the future that not only a flattening of the curve, but a smashing of that curve. And I see in the future 0 new cases, 0 deaths. I foresee a hero popping out of the woodwork, bringing a solution to all the people. It may come with a caveat and another big price, but they'll be hailed a hero. And I see that coming in the very near future. I wish I could predict how near of a future, but I can tell you guys, stay strong, stay positive. So once again, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Don't miss any content. Smash that bell. That will keep you informed of any new content we publish. Become a member. And remember, what do I always say? We never give up. And we never give in. But we'll always keep an open mind. Why? Because knowledge is power. And that research brings us knowledge. And therefore, our power. Never give up your power. So thank you once again for joining us here on this channel. And we hope to see you often. Share us with your friends. Share us across platforms. We're starting to get somewhat of an international following. We may be tiny, but I believe we're mighty. Thanks to you. Talk to you soon. Take care, folks.